New York, Manhattan. Emma Carter, a 24-year-old ambitious girl, stepped into the towering glass building of Knight Enterprises. Nervous but determined, she was about to interview for the position of a personal assistant to the youngest billionaire in the city, Alexander Knight. Alexander was known for three things: his ruthless business sense, his unmatched charm, and his scandalous affairs. When Emma walked into his office, she felt his sharp gaze scanning her from head to toe. "Miss Carter," his deep voice rolled like velvet. "You're late, but somehow I don't mind." Emma swallowed hard. She wasn't late at all. He was testing her, and for some reason his smirk made her heart beat faster than she wanted to admit. Within weeks, Emma became Alexander's shadow. Board meetings, private jets, midnight calls. She was always there, arranging, planning, fixing, but there was something else happening. The air between them was growing heavier, charged with an attraction neither of them admitted. One night, while working late in his penthouse office, Alexander leaned closer, his breath brushing against her ear. "You work too hard, Miss Carter," he whispered. Emma's pen slipped from her fingers. The silence stretched. Her pulse raced. For the first time, she realized how dangerously close they had drifted. A storm raged outside the glass walls, thunder echoing across Manhattan. Emma tried to focus on the documents, but Alexander's hand brushed against hers as he took the paper. The touch was electric. Their eyes locked. Neither spoke. In that moment, Emma knew this was no longer just a job, and Alexander? He knew he was about to cross a line from which there would be no return. The storm outside grew wilder, lightning flashing against the tall glass windows of Alexander's penthouse office. Emma tried to gather the scattered papers from the desk, but her trembling fingers betrayed her. Suddenly, Alexander's hand closed over hers, firm, warm, possessive. "Emma," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "do you feel this too, or am I losing my mind?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. The air between them was hot, suffocating with desire. He stepped closer, his tall frame towering over her. She could smell his cologne, dark, intoxicating, expensive. Before she could think, his fingers tilted her chin upward. Their eyes met, and in that electric pause, the city outside disappeared. His mouth captured hers, hard, hungry. Emma gasped, her hands clutching his shirt. The kiss was fire, deep, consuming, and forbidden. When he finally pulled away, both were breathless. "This," Emma whispered, her voice shaking, "this is wrong." Alexander's lips curved into a dangerous smile. "Then why?" he murmured, brushing his thumb against her swollen lip. "Does it feel so right?" The storm hadn't stopped. Rain lashed against the windows of the penthouse as if the city itself wanted to hide what was about to happen inside. Emma stood frozen, her back against the sleek mahogany desk. Her heart pounded so loud she was afraid Alexander could hear it. He walked toward her slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. Each step felt like a silent promise or a dangerous threat. "Emma!" His voice was husky, velvet wrapped around fire. "You have no idea how long I've wanted this." Her breath hitched as he reached out, sliding a strand of damp hair behind her ear. His touch lingered, his fingertips trailing down to her jaw, her throat igniting sparks across her skin. "Alexander," she whispered, but the rest of her protest melted into a gasp as his lips claimed hers again, deeper, harder, filled with a hunger that had been locked away for too long. Emma clutched his shirt, pulling him closer. The world outside ceased to exist. The papers scattered on the floor, the desk shook beneath them, but neither cared. His hands roamed her waist, pulling her against his hard frame. She felt his control slipping, and with it her own resolve shattered. "Tell me to stop," he murmured against her lips, his breath ragged. "One word and I'll let you go." Emma's eyes met his, wide, vulnerable, but burning with the same forbidden desire. "I don't want you to stop," she whispered. That was all he needed. Alexander lifted her onto the desk, his mouth tracing a burning path down her neck. Emma arched against him, her soft moan mixing with the thunder outside. For the first time, she wasn't his secretary, she wasn't the careful, obedient assistant. Tonight, she was the woman he had claimed, and she knew, with trembling certainty, that there was no turning back. The next morning, Emma told herself it had been a mistake. One reckless night, one kiss too far. But when she walked into the office and saw Alexander sitting at the head of the long glass table, perfectly composed in his tailored suit, his eyes locking with hers for just a second too long, She knew. It wasn't over. It had only just begun. Days blurred into weeks, and with them came a dangerous rhythm. Board meetings where their knees brushed under the table. Elevator rides where Alexander's hand would slide around her waist the second the doors closed. Late-night strategy calls that ended not with numbers but with whispered confessions and stolen kisses. Every moment was a secret, every touch a risk, and the danger only made it more intoxicating. One evening after a gala dinner, Alexander pulled her into a shadowed hallway, his hand pinning hers against the wall. His lips were on hers before she could protest, the taste of champagne mixing with his hunger. "Someone could see," she whispered breathlessly, glancing around. "That's what makes it irresistible," he murmured, his thumb brushing over her lips. "The world thinks I'm untouchable. But only you know how badly I burn." Emma's heart raced. She knew this couldn't last forever. A scandal would destroy his empire and her career. But when his mouth found hers again, hot and demanding, she realized she didn't care. She was already too far gone. The affair had become an unspoken reality. Emma and Alexander were fire and shadow, moving through the office as if nothing had changed. Yet every stolen glance, every hidden touch, told a different story. But secrets never stay buried for long. One Monday morning, as Emma entered the lobby of Knight Enterprises, she noticed a crowd whispering near the elevators. At the center of the attention stood a woman, tall, elegant, and devastatingly beautiful. Her crimson dress clung to her curves, and her diamond necklace sparkled like fire. It was Isabella Moreau, Alexander's former lover, a socialite, a model, and a scandal waiting to happen. Emma's chest tightened. She had seen Isabella's face in magazines, always on Alexander's arm. Rumors had said their breakup was ugly. But from the way Isabella smiled at the receptionist, as if she owned the place, Emma knew she hadn't come here for business. Inside the boardroom, Alexander's jaw tightened the moment Isabella walked in. "Darling," Isabella purred, her French accent wrapping around the word like silk. "It's been far too long." Emma sat frozen, her notepad clutched in her hand. She should be invisible, just his secretary. But Isabella's sharp eyes landed on her, scanning, measuring, lingering a second too long. And then Isabella smiled, a smile full of knowledge. "Oh, so this is your new assistant," she said smoothly. "How charming." Emma's stomach dropped. The way Isabella's gaze flicked between her and Alexander told her everything. Isabella knew, or at least she suspected. After the meeting, Emma tried to slip away, but Isabella cornered her near the elevators. "You're pretty," Isabella said softly, her smile sharp as glass. "But let me warn you, Cherie, Alexander doesn't keep his toys for long." Emma's throat went dry. She wanted to say something to defend herself, but Isabella's perfume, her confidence, her cruelty, it was overwhelming. When the elevator doors closed, Emma caught one last glimpse of Isabella turning toward Alexander with the ease of someone who believed she still belonged to him. For the first time since their affair began, Emma felt the icy sting of fear. Maybe Isabella was right. Maybe she was just another secret Alexander would eventually leave behind. Emma had always known the danger. Every kiss, every night in Alexander's penthouse, every whispered promise in the dark. It all lived under the shadow of discovery. But now, with Isabella back in the picture, the risk had tripled. Whispers had started in the office, a few lingering stares from colleagues, a couple of careless remarks in the break room. "Mr. Knight's new assistant is very close to him, isn't she?" someone murmured once, thinking Emma couldn't hear. Emma's chest tightened. The rumors were spreading. That evening, as she organized files in Alexander's office, she felt his presence behind her. His hand slid around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. "Emma," he murmured against her neck, his lips grazing her skin. "You're trembling." She pushed his hands away, turning to face him. "People are starting to talk," she whispered. "They know something's going on." And Isabella... At the mention of her name, Alexander's expression darkened. "Isabella means nothing," he said firmly. "She's desperate for attention. Let her play her little games." Emma shook her head. "It's not just games, Alexander." She looked at me like she already knew everything. What if she tells the board? What if the press finds out? For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Then Alexander cupped her face, his eyes burning into hers. "Let them find out," he said, his voice low, dangerous. "I don't care. "You're mine, Emma, and I won't hide it forever." His lips crushed hers, fierce and possessive, as if daring the world to catch them. But deep down, Emma's heart twisted, because while Alexander might not care about scandal, she knew she had everything to lose: her job, her reputation, her future, and Isabella was watching, waiting. The risk had never been higher. Emma hadn't slept in days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Isabella's smile, heard the whispers in the office, felt the weight of judgment pressing down on her. It was no longer just passion. It was a scandal waiting to explode. One night, Emma stood at the window of her tiny apartment, watching the city lights blur through her tears. Her phone buzzed again, and Alexander, for the 5th time that evening. She couldn't bring herself to answer. Finally, she typed the words she had been dreading. "We need to stop." Her chest tightened as she hit send. The next morning at Night Enterprises, she avoided his gaze, her heart hammering every time his shadow passed by. But Alexander was not a man easily ignored. By evening, she found him waiting in her office. "Emma," his voice was rough, urgent. "What the hell is this?" He held up his phone, her message glowing on the screen. Tears burned her eyes, but she forced herself to speak. Us. It can't continue, Alexander. I'll lose everything. My job, my reputation, maybe even myself." He stepped closer, his jaw clenched. "You think I care about reputation? About gossip?" "I have to care," Emma cried, her voice breaking. "You're a billionaire. You'll survive any scandal. But me? I'll be destroyed." For the first time, silence stretched between them like a knife. Alexander's hand fell away from hers, his expression unreadable. "If that's what you want," he said finally, his voice low, almost broken, "then I won't stop you." And with that, he walked out. Emma's heart shattered, because even though she had ended it, she had never wanted him to let her go. Days passed like a blur. Emma buried herself in work, pretending nothing had happened, but her heart ached with every glance at Alexander. He was colder now, professional, distant, as if the fire between them had never existed. But Emma knew better. She felt it every time his eyes lingered on her for a second too long. Then came the board meeting. The conference room was filled with directors, lawyers, and investors, and among them, Isabella. Her red lips curved into a satisfied smile as she slid a folder across the table. "Mr. Knight," she said sweetly, "perhaps the board should see these photographs. You and your lovely assistant." "Quite scandalous, don't you think?" Gasps echoed around the room. Emma's blood ran cold. Her worst fear had come true. But before anyone could speak, Alexander stood, his voice cut through the room like steel. "Yes," he said firmly, "it's true. Emma and I are together." The board erupted in whispers. Emma's heart stopped. Alexander's gaze swept across the room, then landed on Isabella. "You can try to use it against me," he continued, "but I don't care. I won't hide her, not anymore." He turned to Emma, his eyes softer now, vulnerable in a way she had never seen. "I told you once I wouldn't stop if you asked me to. But I can't lose you, Emma. Not to rumors, not to fear. So I'm choosing you. Over the company, over my reputation, over everything." The room fell silent. Emma's breath caught, tears burning her eyes. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the board, not Isabella, not the entire city watching. She rose slowly, her hand slipping into his, and with one look, one trembling smile, Emma made her choice too. That night, as they stood together in his penthouse, the city lights glittering below, Emma finally whispered the words she had been too afraid to say. "I love you, Alexander." He pulled her close, his lips brushing hers, his voice raw with emotion. "And I will never let you go again.